I would see my grandfather spending hours with the villagers when I used to go and have my vacation with him, and he would not let anybody go back without meeting him. And not that they will be kept waiting. Even when he was having his breakfast and he heard somebody has come at the door, he will leave the breakfast to meet that person first and then continue with his breakfast. And then when the ladies would tell him that, why are you going away in the middle of your food? So he says, they are the ones who's giving me the food. I need to learn from them and hear them. And that's the story. You see, I've seen politicians very closely. I've seen them. They're just human beings like you and me. They're not any superpower, you see. What you need to understand is they're simple people. They also understand we need to create an environment that they can stay simple. We are complicating matters. I have seen them, how close they become when it comes to the election time. You see now what's going on in Delhi. But the moment the elections are over and they have been elected, you will never be able to find them. Never. Even if they're at home, they will tell you, bol dena ki hum ghar pe nahi hain. Today, if you go to their house, they will leave everything but to meet you because they need you. And this is the time, I tell you, and the coming year, 2014, is crucial for us, for all of us. The last opportunity, let me tell you, youngsters, because all of you are going to vote for the first time. Select the right person. The right person. Of course, your ideologies matter. So if you have an ideology, you know that certain political parties are matching with your ideology, it's fine. Everybody has the right to choose his own party or ideology. But most important is the candidate who is from your constituency, who you want to see to be there for you. That's important. If we can get the right people, the right leadership, and this is the message I'm giving, like what I saw in my 30 years of my experience within the bureaucracy, if I get a good secretary in the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, what I have been able to achieve in 2 years' time while he was there, I have never been able to achieve in 20 years' time, many a times. Because of leadership. Because that bureaucrat has taught me that bureaucracy, if they want to do something, they have the powers to do it. So if somebody is not doing it, he's giving you an excuse, a bahana. Don't waste your time. Carry on and look for the good people. Your work will always continue. So friends, with this as your thought for today, and there are so many eminent speakers in the valedictory session, I would not try to eat away their time any further. But my message is, you have to come forward individually to create a brand that the National Bar Association is the brand, is the party, is the forum, let me put it this way, is the forum which believes to bring justice to all those justice seekers who have been denied at any cost. And that should be the slogan of your, hold these 2 days deliberation which has happened, and to take forward, that's the message I would like to give. And we are with this association, and we will continue to be with this association as long as you all want us to be there to fight for the rights of the consumers. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Congratulations. Really, I didn't expect this kind of a speech.
No, thank you, sir. Good. Thank you, sir. We learn from you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please can I call on stage Ms. Meenakshi. Can you give a round of applause?
No, it's okay. Lawyers like to stand and speak. It's very hard for them to sit and speak. Sit and listen, yes, but sit and speak, no. The rhythm is missing. Thank you very much. and respected Mr. Jethmalani and my friend, and ladies and gentlemen. Uh, First, thank you all for calling me over and giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts. And when I asked that what is it that is expected of me, so they said you must speak on the women and the law. So I said glad to speak, especially in relation to three very important things which are going on in the country, which have made headlines for past 2 weeks. One has, of course, gone back in the entire concern, and that was the so-called snooping, which they first labeled as stalking, and then turned out to be a surveillance. Now, how a surveillance for political purposes can be converted into snooping and stalking is something one must learn from the media. That how good they are with words, how they can spin stories, and how they can make credible things into incredible, and incredible things and non-issues into issues is a lesson which we all must learn. Because I think most of us are lawyers and we all understand the right to privacy as a personal right, as a fundamental right. So any challenge to the right of privacy can only be very personal, because if I think my right to privacy has been violated, it is for me to make a complaint. And definitely the political parties need to stay out of that scene, because I may have shared a few things which I may not want it to go public for whatever reason. I may want to be anonymous, I may want to stay out, and yet there are certain intellectuals, self-appointed guardians of adult women who would seek to destroy that veil of anonymity and try and make issues out of it, destroying a person's life, which a lady may seek anonymity and complete silence on certain past incidents. The second issue, which has happened where the honorable judges of the Supreme Court, a certain level of allegations have come. I can't go into the allegations. At the same time, how a law, which is Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan, held by this very court in 1997, gave women the right to have their issues addressed at workplace, and which meant sexual harassment at workplace committees to be appointed across the country, and how that particular law has been violated is something which we all must concentrate and focus on. Post that, enough was spoken about the politicians. The politicians in the parliament, and I have worked on that particular enactment, and Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act 2013, where, and even before that, the bill which was drafted by several people, and NCW also worked on it, and I have participated in all those things throughout this gap of 97 and 2013 that we are in. In the parliament also, it has not seen really the debate which I would expect all men and women to participate in, because it is an area of concern which affects everyone. Because if productivity of an institution is affected due to harassment at workplace, it affects everyone, number one. Number two, if there are false implications of anybody, and I'm not being unjust in my assessment, there can be false implications. There are cases which are motivated. So even that protection needs to be given to men. I am all for it. I mean, I think the misuse can be as rampant as the harassment itself. So both things need to be balanced, and there has to be an open debate in the society, in intellectual circuits, amongst the academicians and amongst the lawyers deeply, because those who litigate and have been to courts and understand the legality also understand how the laws get misused. So a protection mechanism, because end of the day, we are not looking at making scapegoats either of the women or of the men. Guilty need to be punished, but innocent need to be protected, whoever be it. It can be a woman, it can be a man, and many a times false implications of settling issues which are anything else other than harassment or sexual harassment in particular can be made in to sexual harassment cases. And also opposite, that women can be denied their due position. Women could be put under stress and position, and they could be exploited on the ground of their gender, and undue favors sexually could be sought from them, and which we have seen that if a young girl goes out to make a case, the boss is trying to assassinate her character. We've seen it after atonement, apology, and everything, how the case is sought to be turned into something else which it was not on day one. So this kind of duplicity and hypocrisy which is prevailing in our society is something which we all need to see through, and it is this veil which needs to be pulled off. It is this veil of secrecy on issues where actual harassment is happening needs to be pulled off. At the same time, nobody should be made a scapegoat irrespective of gender, and only then we can have a just society. Since the day happens to be, we are celebrating Law Day, and I can only say law is the tool which we use for a just society, and if there is a just society, only a just society can ensure everlasting peace, prosperity, and progress. And it is in this context that all of us, whichever field of law we are working in, that we see to it that law is implemented without discrimination and favor. And it is the law only which can actually ensure an everlasting sense of justness. And I think this was the crux of my address today, which I felt that on a Law Day, regarding issues pertaining to women, 3 very highlighted issues, each one being different from the other. I was told that a sitting judge of the Supreme Court made a comment somewhere, and it was being reported yesterday, that women in turn should not be taken. I think more and more women should occupy the workspace. And only when more and more women occupy the workspace can there be equality. And the fantastic judgments that our courts have given in the past regarding gender justice will go a waste if this unjust situation is sought to prevail. And on a lighter note, I can say we can have all women judges if you don't want women interns, and we can have men interns. So this is on the lighter note. This is on the lighter note because I think, so far as I am concerned personally, I feel I'm a 46-plus-year-old woman. All my life, I have never felt any different from a man. And no man who's dealt with me has ever felt that at my intellectual, academic, or mental level, I'm different from the people I'm interacting with. So, and the idea is basically that if you are growing up with men and boys, and later in life you have a sense of equality, which is so inbuilt in you, that if somebody is elbowing you, be a man or a woman, you know exactly how to deal with the situation. And you can handle the situation better because you understand them better, and they also understand you better. And once that level of understanding is there, and they know exactly what the response is going to be, I'm sure a lot of things are warded off also. Most people who suffer are the ones who have not understood this parity. So the parity needs to exist in our system, and the parity can only exist in the system once more and more women join the workspace, more and more women are participating in schools, colleges, areas of work, army to medicine to lecturers to whatever field one can think of, policing, for example. So I think this kind of discrimination once goes out of the social setups and various groups, only then can we expect a just society. And discrimination needs to be avoided and averted. And I think so far as entrepreneurship in India is concerned, we have second highest. The highest is Thailand, which is close to 18% of women workforce in the entrepreneurship sector. And we have about 16 or 14.5%, one of the two figures. And US is one of the least, which is about 8%. So I think if we look at the entire scenario from very basic farm labor to the highest, we see participation of women all across. The women in position of power in our system are less, though women workforce is greater. So women workforce being greater and yet position of power being less is either due to social reasons, societal biases, or sometimes the setups are such. But culturally, we are a society which have always expected women to do well, and we have immediate acceptance of a woman in authority. Now, that cultural balance, which we have all part of our cultural setups, where we expect women in position of power, and we don't, once the women are in that position, we don't discriminate. We immediately are bowing before such women who are in position of authority in political circuits or wherever. We don't have that sense because culturally, all the important departments in our social setup have been with women. I mean, knowledge which I seek all the time. I think I'm a student for life, like most of us, is goddess Saraswati. So the knowledge, the goddess of Devi is Saraswati, not a man. Happens to be a woman. And security, defense is Durga. So it's expected a woman is going to pull out a sword and deal with the situation if the situation so demands. And wealth is Lakshmi, not Vishnuji. Okay, so if whether most things which we need to run, the highest possible departments and highest possible respect is granted to women socially. And I always laugh and joke about it when they ask me, who's your feminist model and are you a feminist? I said, don't I look one? So I said all women in this society who have any sense of pride in themselves are feminist, if you so believe, but I think I'm an equal to men, and I don't think I'm any different from anybody else. I'm like anybody. So if you look at me like a lawyer, I think anybody of you, I'm like one of you. So the discrimination